Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cinema Savvy, and welcome to the yearly discussion of the best animated films for the year. Yes, the Oscars are back around again, and we're back on this video, which I've been doing now for a few years, just going through the nominees for the best animated feature or best animated film, and just having a little discussion about them, seeing what people think about them, and actually ranking them, not just in what I think is going to win, but also which ones are my favorites from this year. And I'll be perfectly honest, I'm quite glad that this year we actually have five nominees that I actually quite like. There isn't a nominee here which I dislike. There's definitely some which I prefer over others, but you always get that with you know any nominee in any category. Before we go into discussing it, please comment below what your thoughts are on the nominations this year for the best animated feature. Like, I want to know which one's your favorite, if there was any that were missed out. I haven't seen Transformers 1, but I've heard very good things about that. George was absolutely gushing over that. I've also, there's been a few good animated films that came out this year. I want to know which ones you think missed out on the ballot, because we got five in the end, and we'll go through those five in a second. But please make sure that you comment below and tell us what you think missed out and what you think is your favorite from this selection. Also, please go and follow us on our social medias. The link is down in the description. And you can find us on Redbubble as well if you'd like some merch. Now, let's talk about the five nominees in general. So let's go through all of them. So we've got Flow, The Wild Robot, Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, and Wallace and Gromit: A Vengeance Most Foul. Really, really wide selection of different animation styles here, which is really nice. I know that in recent years you've had that animation style that was brought in from Into the Spider-Verse, kind of, dominating various different categories and various different things. You always have one of those picks coming in from either Disney's or your Pixar's, and we've got one with Inside Out 2, which we'll talk about in a second. But you've also got two films which are stop motion, which is fantastic. And then you've got two films which are also beautifully animated in the shape of Flow and The Wild Robot. So a really wide selection here. And what I also like is the fact that it's not just kids' films. They are a wide selection. And I know over the years, especially Guillermo del Toro, I remember him saying in his Oscar speech, animation is cinema. Like, you can't see it as kids' films anymore. I really do hope that the kind of Oscar voters, they won't. They'll just make their kids watch it like they always do. But I really do hope they watch every single film coming forward in this category. And it'd be very interesting if they let a kid watch Memoir of a Snail as one of the nominees, because that is definitely not a kids' film. My word, that is as far removed from a kids' film as possible. So definitely keep an eye on all of that. Now, here we go. Let's start off with my least favorite, and then I'll work my way through to my favorite from these picks for this year. Inside Out 2 is my least favorite of the five. It's not the fact that I'm not the biggest fan of kind of Pixar's modern kind of work, or even Disney Pixar's modern work, or anything like that. I really liked Inside Out 1. I thought it was a fantastic film. I thought it was a brilliant, unique idea to delve inside the mind of a young girl. Inside Out 2 explores that further by introducing new emotions through the idea of, puberty and stuff like that. We've seen that in films before, such as like Turning Red, which is kind of all the different allegories for that, which I really liked. But this one's done in the same kind of style as, the Inside Out 1. With the original emotions getting isolated and new emotions taking over. It's set and scened around Riley, the main character, going off to an ice hockey camp as well. It is a nice film. It is a good film. It's a film which will help describe some people, like, emotions when they're growing up and stuff like that. It's a film that adults can get involved in. You've got the voice cast kind of coming back from the first one, which is really nice as well. And I mean, apart from that, there isn't really much I can say. It's not a film which I'd immediately go back and watch. In fact, I'm shelving it for a while now because I have no motivation to actually go and watch it again. I'd go and watch Inside Out 1 again, and maybe I'll watch Inside Out 2 if I do that. But just in the same way that of a lot of kind of, Pixar sequels in modern times, it doesn't quite grip you as much as the first one. The first one was a unique idea. The second one built on that, but didn't really do much more. You could say the instructions and emotions, and Maya Hawke's anxiety is fantastic. I thought she was absolutely brilliant. But apart from that, the other emotions are kind of forgettable. I mean, you can remember ennui because it's just kind of moping around the entire time. Embarrassment's kind of there in the background. doing his own thing. It's really kind of a story about the original emotions, trying to deal with these new ones coming through and stuff like that, and just trying to deal with core ideas growing up and just that whole thing. It didn't quite capture me in the way that I thought it would. It didn't quite capture me in that way. Not to say that it isn't a fantastic animated film, and not to say that it isn't a fantastic addition, kind of to to the Pixar canon and everything like that. But at the same time, it's probably the weakest of the five here, which is a shame because I yeah, it might win. Just purely by the fact that it's a Disney Pixar film, it might win. I really hope it doesn't. But yeah, Inside Out 2 is my number five pick. My number four actually is the favorite to win everything at the moment, which is The Wild Robot. And I feel like I'm going to get a little bit of criticism here for saying that The Wild Robot I found a little bit boring. I thought the animation was beautiful and I thought the voice acting in some parts was great and creative, but I feel like, after about an hour into the film, I was starting to lose interest. And it's not that long of a film. It's about an hour 40 or something like that. It's fine. Lupita Nyong'o's voice acting gets a little bit repetitive because it's a robot's voice, and that's really hard. Pedro Pascal, I mean, you can kind of tell it's him straight away. It's one of those where it's like, I I watched it. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was fantastic. I love the story. It's a really, really fun story in the film itself. But at the same time, it's just it didn't captivate me in the same way that some of the others did. Some of the other films on the list captivated me in different ways, such as the animation style I just thought was absolutely flawless, or its storytelling was better, or even its voice acting was better, and everything like that. And DreamWorks are having a bit of a renaissance at the moment. They've had a fantastic few years where they've been putting out some absolutely brilliant films. I mean, The Last Wish is phenomenal. Bad Guys wasn't too bad and took a different direction from, its animation style. Same with this film. They're trying new things, DreamWorks, and it's working at the moment. It's not getting stale like the same old animation that gets pumped out by other studios, like your Disneys and stuff like that. And I used to say like your DreamWorks, but now you can turn around and go, actually, DreamWorks is doing new things. It's looking to be innovative in different ways, and it's looking to express its storytelling in different ways. And this one has kind of, the whole nature kind of thing flowing behind it, which I really like as well. I thought it was good. I thought it was good. It is the favorite to win. It's adored by a lot of people as well. I just didn't adore it as much. It's just one of those things where I wasn't captivated as much as I thought I would once again by the film. I was expecting it to be a good film. It was a good film. It's a lot better than Inside Out 2, in my personal opinion, but there's a big jump up to kind of the next two films, which I'm going to talk about as we kind of move up the list. And then number one is just a clear winner for me, at least from this year. But The Wild Robot, I would put in at number four. Number three. Whew. Oh, George is going to be very unhappy. Number three is going to be Wallace and Gromit: A Vengeance Most Foul, which I really enjoyed. Once again, it's not as good as Curse of the Were-Rabbit. It's not as good as some of the other Wallace and Gromit things. At the same time, it's still fantastic. It's Aardman at their best, and it's just like whenever you watch a Wallace and Gromit film, especially being British, you get sucked into the humor, you get sucked into the subtle references to various different things. The fact that this came out on Christmas Day, and the fact that it came out globally as well on Netflix, and they're able to get that kind of contract through, is brilliant. It's lovely to see Wallace and Gromit back on the big screen, and it's lovely to see them still making these things. Like Wallace and Gromit's been around for yonks, like absolutely ages, and the fact that a franchise like this is still able to keep its charm and still able to keep its wit throughout the entire kind of thing without kind of changing its style, without changing its thing. I know I've been complaining about Disney not changing their style and blah, 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 but this is a continuation. And with Wallace and Gromit, it is timeless. Even this film will end up being timeless. It'll end up being recognized in 20 or so years in the same vein as the original Wallace and Gromit films, where you can still see the thumbprints on the claymation and everything like that. I love stop motion animation. I love claymation, and Aardman have been just the kings of that for years, even when they teamed up with DreamWorks last time, and for this film as well. They have always had that kind of that reign over the industry, and they've inspired other studios to go the same route and do other things. We'll talk about the next nominee after that, which is a clear inspiration from that kind of style of filmmaking. In the same way that Leica have been doing their stop motion stuff, they haven't worked with claymation, for example. Well, they've worked a little bit with claymation, but mostly the stop motion side of things. You can just see that progression through the years and adapting to different times and adapting to different things. Wallace and Gromit, once again, is still able to remain very fresh and very entertaining. And it was a lovely thing to watch over the Christmas break and over the Christmas holidays, especially being out here currently in Austria. Not back at home. It's one of those home comforts that you kind of get to experience every now and then, which immediately pulls you back in and stuff like that to that kind of thing. But yeah, no, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul is probably my third favorite. And I really do hope they continue making Wallace and Gromit films because they are fun. They're so fun. They're fun to watch. They're fun to talk about. It's just even breaking down kind of how they're made and everything like that. It's lovely as a person who loves every aspect of film, the making of it, the behind the scenes, the actual film itself, the interviews behind it and everything like that. It's amazing to be able to kind of go into that and kind of, delve in further. And I've watched a few featurettes on it, and I've looked at a few interviews with the voice acting cast and seen them in the studio doing their lines and stuff like that. So yeah, once again, also haven't even mentioned it yet. Iconic villain, one of the most iconic villains of all time now, Feathers McGraw, who's been brought back. For a silent villain to have that much influence over the British media and stuff like that, that since kind of this has come out, or since it was announced that he'd be coming back, the amount of people I've seen with Feathers McGraw tattoos, Feathers McGraw t-shirts. I have a Feathers McGraw bottle at home back in England. So it's one of those things where a character who's maybe he was given not much screen time in his first outing, and yet at the same time, he's just remained over the years as that kind of iconic, penguin with the chicken kind of rubber glove hat thrown on top. I absolutely love him, and I love this film, and I'll watch it again. This is one of those where it's like, maybe I won't watch The Wild Robot again for a while. Maybe I won't watch Inside Out 2. I'm going to watch Vengeance Most Foul again. I'm probably going to watch Curse of the Were-Rabbit again as well. It doesn't really have much of a chance winning, sadly. I know that Curse of the Were-Rabbit won back in the day. But this year, this category is so strong. You've got so many different kind of big studios coming in and making their own kind of stake and claim that I doubt it's going to get anywhere. But that is my number 3 pick. I'm just going to have a very quick drink. Before moving on to my number 2 pick. My number 2 pick, actually, I want to have people comment at the moment. Do you agree with my list so far? I feel like putting Wild Robot at 4, people are going to disagree. I feel like George is going to possibly disagree with Vengeance Most Foul at number 3 as well. So I just once again want to kind of hear your comments and feedback on how they're being ranked as well. And we'll find out on the night. And we're going to have our predictions video coming out very, very soon as well. So keep an eye on our socials for that, because we'll be talking about every single category in that and going through everything that we're picking for it. Number 2, Memoir of a Snail. Now, this film, directed by Adam Elliott, who the only other film I've known from him is Mary and Max, which I still haven't seen, is not a kids' film. And it needs to be made very, very, very clear for Oscar voters that this is not a kids' film. You should not let your kids watch this. This film has, we'll go from the light stuff, arson, abuse, nudity, swearing. It has violence. It's a brilliant film. It's not what I expected. I have no idea what I was going to expect coming into it. I didn't watch any of the trailers. I didn't even read any of the synopses. I just knew that Sarah Snook was going to be playing a character who loves snails. My God, what a emotional, depressing, life-fulfilling, life-figuring outing kind of series of events across someone's life, all centered around that spiral of someone who's addicted or is, in love with the study of snails. It's a absolutely heartbreaking film. It's an absolutely engrossing film. It's kind of a collection of memoirs and stories told throughout a life, sometimes in chronological order, sometimes not, all centered around our lead character, um, called Grace, who is absolutely heartbreaking what she has to go through throughout her entire life, from kind of birth all the way through to where we leave her at the end of the film. The experiences she has, the heartbreak, the trauma, the highs, the lows, the quiet moments, the loud moments, and the bond that she has with her brother. This is a film about family bonds and family ties. This is also a film about kind of, family always being out there for you, and just everything in between, and how life gets in the way, and how life can be so cruel sometimes. It's it's got some wacky characters in it. It's got some beautiful animation, once again stop motion, and its storytelling here is what drives it. Its storytelling here is what keeps you engaged. You flick between the different stories and you kind of progress on with the film. By the time you get to the end, you're like, I want more. I want more stories from this life, and to delve in deeper and to kind of peel back the layers and just really engross yourself into that world, because it's addicting. It's a horrible story, by the way. I know I just said, oh yeah, it's an addicting thing to kind of view and stuff like that because of how it flows through, but at the same time, it's not an easy watch. There are moments, glimmers of hope thrown in between absolute travesty, and quiet moments, once again, that kind of bring you back down to earth. I really enjoyed it. And there's one quote from the film which I have to read out. Life can only be understood backwards, but we have to live it forwards. That is a fantastic quote, which really kind of epitomizes the film, epitomizes everything in between there. And yeah, I'd highly recommend you try and source it out and watch it. But that is my number two pick. I really enjoyed it. It surprised me. It really, really surprised me, as a nominee. Now, for those keeping track, you would have figured out what my number one pick is. I don't rate films 5-star on Letterboxd very often. I rate films on Letterboxd of new releases. I don't really rate kind of films I've seen kind of, that have been released already. Um, so new releases only. I didn't know what to expect from Flow. I heard it was very good. It's been nominated for, was it Best Foreign Language Feature as well? Even though it's got no, or Best International Feature, it's now called. Even though it's got no words in it, it's a silent film basically, with just kind of music and kind of, what is around, kind of showing you what's going on. Flow is not just a 5-star film. I think it's going to be up there as one of my favorite animated films of at least the last decade. And it could creep into my all time very easily. Flow is a just phenomenal piece of cinema, a phenomenal piece of storytelling, of world building, of cinematography, of music, of everything combined. It is gorgeous. And not only is it a gorgeous film, but it is also so engrossing and so well written, and just everything that's in between. Basically flows the story of a cat, post-apocalypse in a world that's flooding, slowly flooding, trying to survive with other animal species. Now, the animals communicate with each other in animal sounds. So it's a cat meowing, it's a dog barking, it's a bird tweeting, it's all of those things. We get a various different cast of characters come in and out during the film, but we really do focus on the cat the entire way. And I mean, there is no kind of name for the cat throughout the film. It's just a cat, trying to survive. It is stunning. For a film with no words, it's able to tell so much, just through emotions, through camera work, through settings, through everything. It's so well animated, it's so well scored, and it is so, so, so well done. I loved it. I absolutely adored it. a film with no words to do that unbelievable piece of cinema. Unreal. Absolutely unreal. Highest recommendation from me. Got to give credit here to the directors, or at least Gintz Zibalados or Zibalidis. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal piece of filmmaking. And I'm glad that it's been recognized. I'm glad that it's not just nominated for one category. I'm glad that it's in for two. I'm also glad that, it actually has a small chance of winning. It's one of those kind of in the mix. They could go for the Wild Robot if they wanted to go for the big studio. They could go for Pixar if it's just the kids voting. If they kind of want to give it to the best animated film, realistically, they probably could give it to Flow, especially because it's been nominated in other categories as well. No, the Wild Robot was also nominated in other categories for score and also for best song. Or did it miss out on best song? I think it missed out on best song. But all I can say is Flow deserves this award. Flow really deserves this award. Once again, I don't give out 5 stars very often. This is a 5-star film. This is an incredible piece of cinema that I'm going to be going back to very, very soon. Just because it was able to tell a story. It was able to tell a story with its scenery. It was able to tell a story through kind of, callbacks within the film. It was able to tell a story through non-communication. It was able to tell a story through character emotion, body language, and all of that. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's only 85 minutes long. And it is probably one of the most fantastic pieces of filmmaking I've seen in a while, especially for an animated film to do that. It's absolutely incredible. But those are the 5 nominees for Best Animated Feature at the Oscars. Now, I've already given my order of kind of what I think is going to win and what I think should win. I think Flow should win, but I genuinely think if it's going to be my pick, it's going to be Wild Robot that's going to win. Which is fine. It's a great film. Does it deserve it? I think Flow's better. Personally, I'd love for Wallace and Gromit to win it from the personal British side of things and stuff like that. But realistically, I would say Flow's a better film. It's so much better. It's so much better. It's a clear head above everything else for me that's been nominated this year. So that's where I would lean to. But I do think that Wild Robot is probably going to win it. I guess that's kind of where we leave it there. So please comment your thoughts on what you think is going to win, what your favorite was as well. You can do 2 lists like I've done there of your top 5 favorites and then your top 5 in which you think it's going to win as well. And also keep an eye out because we're going to be doing our Oscar predictions video very, very soon as well. I believe on Tuesday, possibly. So please keep an eye out on the socials for that. I will put the socials up now as well. Go follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Letterboxd, on Blue Sky as well. We're on there now. You can follow the Linktree link in the description. That will take you to all of those different things. And also, our Redbubble link is in the description if you want to pick up some merch, which I am currently wearing in a cozy little mountain hut in Austria whilst I am away. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed the discussion, and I want to see more comments on what you think is going to win in the animated category, if there's any snubs or anything we missed out on as well. Thank you ever so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.